In this video, we'll have a quick look at a couple of different ways to do controlled data validation. And the one of the ways is of course to do XBasic validation, and with the immediate validation to client, to set to client side and server side, which is great if you need to check data against what you've got on the server. But in this case, if we're just checking to see whether we've got data at all in this case drop downs, then that's kind of like going somewhere to check to see if we've got something that we already know we have or don't have. It's like baking a cake and having the recipe book at the grocery store. So we leave the kitchen and we've got a couple of items with us that we think we need, let's say, for example, and it's an egg, and we grab an egg and we walk out the front door and walk down to the grocery store and check the recipe book, and the recipe book says you need an egg, at least one egg, and then you check your hands and you see, oh, I've got one egg, and then you walk back home. But on the way out the front door, a friend of yours says, where are you going? And you say, well, I'm going down to the grocery store to check my recipe book. And your friend says, oh, I know the recipe for this cake, and you need one egg, so don't bother walking down to the grocery store to check your recipe, because I can tell you. And your friend in this case is client side. So they're there to help you do whatever you need to do on the client side. Again, if you need to go and get some data in order to check what you've already got against, then that's fine. But if you already know potentially what you're going to need at the client side, then there's no reason to go anywhere. So here we've got a couple of drop downs, and we know we need a value in either one of these two things. So most of the time what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sitting somewhere, and then you're going to be going somewhere else. And so it's the going somewhere else part that you need to check to see whether you've got what you need to get there. And in this case, in this example, I've just got a simple panel navigator set up with two panel cards. So we've got this button that says we want to go to panel card number 2. But in order to get to panel card number 2, we've got to have a value in either drop down 1 or drop down 2. Now, if we had server side validation set up here, and we get into this UX, and we just click the button, because we never went into drop down 1 or drop down 2, validation is never going to take place. So we're going to get panel card number 2 easily, and that's not the idea. But in this button where we go to panel card number 2, what we can do is say, this is all on client side, so it's all in JavaScript. Let's check to see what we've got before we go anywhere, to see if we've got what we need. So what we do is we get a pointer to drop down number 1 and pointer to drop down 2, and then we go and get the values from both of those elements. And the only reason we're doing this is because we need this pointer to do other stuff with, so we might as well get the pointer and then get the values. We could always use a .get value as well, but it's kind of doing double duty, so we don't really need to do that. So now we've got the value in drop down 1 and drop down 2. We've got a pointer to drop down 1 and drop down 2. And then we say, because these are the values up here in DD1 and DD2, if drop down 1 is equal to nothing and drop down 2 is equal to nothing, then we're going to use this great little tool that Alpha gives us to set the class, to add a class name to this element, to the drop down element 1 and 2. And we're going to set it to this nice class that Alpha uses called iOS 7 edit error. So we're going to add this class to both of these controls. And then we're going to add a tooltip as well to both of these controls. And we're not going to go anywhere because we need this data. Now, if drop down 1 and drop down 2 are both not equal to nothing, then we can execute this else statement that says, just in case we had an error at one point, remove this element, remove this class rather, and then set the title, which is the bubble pop-up, to nothing, and then go ahead and move on to panel card number 2. So let's go and have a look to see how this looks. Just pop this up. I'm going to rerun this. So here we've got our 2 drop downs, and I'm going to try to go to panel card number 2. Now, if I had XBasic client server-side validation on this, without touching these 2 controls, I can get to panel card 2, because that validation only happens if I get in and get out. So here I can go to panel card number 2, but it's not going to let me, and I can hover my cursor over here, and now I'll get a bubble pop-up saying what I need. And so great, I'll go and pick Afghanistan, and then I'll go to number 2, and I can go. And now things are set back here. Now you can reset the error class here as soon as you choose something, so that's fine too. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that. So now we've made a quick change to our code, and the onChange event here in drop down number 1. And so let's run this again. We're going to try to go to panel card number 2. We can't. We see we've got an error. At least one selection needs to be made. So we're going to go ahead and choose one. As soon as we choose one, then everything's okay, and we remove the error classes from here and the pop-up titles bubbles. And now we can go to panel card number 2 and come back, and everything's all right. And the main point here is that we haven't gone anywhere. We're just using the tools that Alpha gives us to manipulate the classes and manipulate the controls the way we need to, but all on the server. All on the client. We've never gone back to the server to do anything. We don't need to. We've got everything we need here in the controls. If you needed, once again, to compare this control against something on the server, then by all means go to the server and do it. But all you want to do is check to see, what have I got here? Do I have data, period, in these 2 controls? I don't even care what it is, because it's coming from a drop down anyway. But and then I can set this back if I want to. And once again, I got nothing here, so I've got an error situation, and I can't go anywhere. And you're doing it all client side. You're not going anywhere. Thanks for having a look.